Happy or Merry Christmas Eve to everybody. This is the Christmas Eve special. It's going to be not quite as long as the other ones because got a big Christmas Eve party to at my brother's and my family. We always host like a big Christmas Eve party with the white elephant sale and contest for the best dish brought and prizes for the worst gift and all of that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. So we have to go and prepare for that. So, what are we doing right now in the garden? Indiana, Northern Indiana, Zone 5B, 6A, and it is currently, let me just show you guys real quick. It is currently, let's see the temperature, okay? I don't know what it's like. Let me know what it's like where you're at, the temperature and stuff. But here we got 4 degrees. It's 4 degrees Fahrenheit. And yesterday it was in the negatives. Like -9 last night. And so it's really cold. It's real cold right now. And the wind chill, -35-degree wind chill. That is pretty cold. Even for a cold training polar bear like myself, that is cold. Because you go outside and yes, I still did the ice bath and I still did the sauna. The sauna tent has arrived. And I was out there in the ice bath, and when I got into the ice bath, it actually felt warm. And I was like, oh, wow, for a second. And then, 2-3 minutes. And then I got out, and immediately all of the, as soon as the wind hit me, all of the ice on my chest and everywhere just froze. It was really wild. So I had not experienced that before. But it's been wonderful. The sauna tent is here, man. I've been roasting in it. It's so nice. I'm giving it a go. Wood burning. It's nice to have a nice wood burner again, so that keeps the sauna tent sweltering hot, and you pour water on the rocks and it's so wonderful, guys. So Tushi G says, howdy y'all from Kentucky. Well, she didn't say y'all. Oh yeah, she did. Howdy from Kentucky. Got sprouts, micros, and hydro lettuce indoors. 6 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. Yes, my friend. They made up some new term now called cyclone bomb. This Winter Storm Elliott cyclone bomb, whatever that is, a fear bomb, cyclone, it's all part of has to be the most overhyped snow ever in my life, because we have like 1 inch of snow, but the temperatures are very, very cold. Yes, no doubt. Okay, Sunset Farm says it's 5 degrees here in Ohio. I Run Amok says 9 degrees in Pennsylvania. Okay, so it's just straight up cold right now. Isn't that right? Jerry, hello, my friend. Happy holidays, fellow Vikes. That's right, fellow Vikings. Taida Henna says, Merry Yule and happy holidays. Stay warm. Thank you. $5, my friend. Merry Christmas to you, my friend. I appreciate it. First gift of the day. Let's see. Ernina Ruge said -11 in Ontario, Canada. Is that Fahrenheit, though? I think, aren't you guys on the Queens? Yeah, I'm confused. I don't know. John Jude says, Merry Christmas to all. 6A, Ohio, just above 0. Diamitri Saraswati says, it's 4 a.m. here on Christmas morning in Australia. Merry Christmas to all. Hello, my friend. Thank you for stopping by and spending time with us. So you're in the future. So that's pretty cool. Jeremy Ransom, happy holidays from San Diego. Not my fault. Wish I could share our weather with you all. Yeah, because we already know it's 70 degrees and sunny in San Diego right now, I'm sure. Miss KC, greetings everyone. It's 15 degrees in Atlanta. Wow, I bet that is uncharacteristically cold for Atlanta, isn't it? Because it's usually sweltering there. Lori Sparkles, all our leaves failed to fall until the first big snow, and more snow means leaves are sandwiched between layers of snow. I'm not expecting usable leaf mold this year. Oh, well, as soon as it thaws, you can rake up all of the leaves that you do have and utilize that. It's good to utilize, I don't know exactly what your setup looks like and stuff, but it's ideal to utilize the leaves as a thick mulch, because we always want to keep the soil covered. When there's not plants in the ground and when there is plants in the ground. So you can rake those up and spread them out nice and thick, 2 or 3 inches all over the garden. And then you just scoot aside, plant into that. Or plant all of your plants and then take the leaves and put a nice thick layer of mulch around it. And that's going to keep everything nice, and it's going to buffer it from the elements, from the extreme heat, from the extreme cool, or from the rain and drought. All of that stuff gets buffered with the leaves. So definitely have a thick mulch, and that helps to keep the roots cool and stuff. Huge proponent of mulch and stuff. So I'm going to show you guys this here. I'm doing the technique where everything is a super thick layer of leaves. So we are going to utilize real deep mulch this year, okay? And this usually gives very good success as far as weed suppression and drought tolerance, because this past year was ridiculous. It was ridiculous in the sense that here in northern Indiana, we typically can just let the rain take care of our watering for the most part. Because remember, you don't want to water your plants too much. That's the number one mistake of beginning gardeners, is that they water the plants too often. And here's what happens. When you water the plant too often, the roots stay close to the surface because that's where the water is. And so they form shallow root systems that are not resilient to the extremes. So when you water very rarely, you let the plant send roots deep into the earth to search out for the water. And that creates a strong, robust root system. And that is what enables big, healthy plants that are, they're sort of impervious to the drought a lot more. They can tolerate the drought a lot more. So you don't want to water too often. But last year was ridiculous because I planted stuff and it was 6 weeks or more. I think it was like 8 weeks without a drop of rain, and it was blazing hot. So nothing is going to like that. Nothing is going to thrive and grow in that. So I was having to water, which I don't like to do. So this year I'm doing a deep layer of the leaf mulch, and you guys will see. So Jeremy says it's in the low 50s right now, scheduled for a high of 75 today. Well, that's nice. Yeah, I'm really happy for you. I'm sure we're all really happy for you, and it's your 75 degrees. D-Bax, 16 degrees here in North Florida. Really? Wow, that is cold for Florida, I thought. I didn't think you guys even frosted. 11 degrees, yes, Fahrenheit in Ontario. Okay, negative 11. Yeah, once you get into the negatives, it's like all the same. It's like just cold, to where you go out and your hands immediately start hurting. And that is... Yeah, you're not growing a lot of stuff. That's why a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I like to overwinter, or I grow those overwinter. Like, man, you're not growing anything overwinter here. You're not. So without, of course, infrastructure, greenhouse, and all of that kind of stuff. But 12 Fahrenheit with 0 wind chill, Central Virginia. Yes. Best old gardener I met, only watered sometimes at planting and one great garden. Yes, John, that is, obviously that's what our ancestors did. They did methods that didn't really require much irrigation, unless you were, of course, in a region where you had to irrigate, otherwise you weren't growing, like the deserts and things like that. But it makes for such more resilient plants. But it's all about the mulch, and I didn't emphasize it enough this year to you guys, and so I'm really going to overemphasize it this upcoming year by doing a technique that is not really conventional, but you will see. So Shannon Lagro, nice name. Greetings, 10 this AM in Vermont. All right, let's see here. Now, I hope that everyone has got something cool planned for Christmas or Christmas Eve, because like I was saying, my family's got a big party and we have all kinds of games and stuff. It's really cool. So I'm excited for that. So we'll probably end a little bit early today, but consistency is key. And so here we are, we're all meeting together. And what are some of you guys' questions? Let's see. What are some questions mid-winter? Because it's actually not that far away. Listen to me. It's actually not that far away until we have to starting seeds and starting stuff. So we need to get our seed starting setup dialed in, which I'm going to make some videos on the ideal seed starting setup for you guys. I'm still going to try and do the microgreens video, at least one of them, and that will show you a preliminary setup that because it's good to get your seed starting set up and then do a few runs of microgreens for a month or so to make sure that all the bugs are worked out of the system. Because ideally you want all of your seedlings to go on this kind of trajectory. When you start stuff, these type of plants, they're not like house plants. So our vegetable plants, when we want them to sprout here and then continue their growth and expansion and health on this type of scale. We don't want them to sprout and then remain stagnant for a while, and then grow a little bit, and then stagnant for a while, and then get sick, and then grow up. That's not how we produce strong, resilient, nutrient-dense plants. The way that we do that is by making sure all the conditions are proper, and then we start the seeds, and boom, they got everything that they need as soon as they need them, and they grow nice and big and robust. And that is what we want. So that's what we want to make sure that we do, because the health of the plant, from the seedling all the way to maturity, it all matters. Okay, it all matters in the sense that if you have a sick little, nursing along these sickly little plants in your indoor, and they're all weak and starved for light and overwatered and underfed and all of that, then they're going to go outside and kind of never reach their full genetic potential. So it's important that we do all this preliminary stuff. Okay, so let's see. Nancy says, for seed starting, what are your thoughts on using mosquito bits soaked in seedling water to rid fungus gnats? You know, I've never had those. I've never used those. I don't know. They are a type of bacteria that apparently destroys, it dissolves or starves out, or it infects the mosquito larva. And so I do know what they are. I just have never had to use them. And I don't think that they would work for the fungus gnats. But fungus gnats, if you have them, are number one, a sign of your environment is not right. There's too much moisture and not enough airflow, and probably not enough temperature. And so if it's cold and sort of wet and not a good airflow or not a lot of CO2 exchange, those are all conditions to where fungus gnats are going to want to be a part of that. Okay. And so if you change that, that's really the number one thing. But a lot of the soil that you buy from the store already has the eggs in it. So you, once you do get them though, you can do a number of things. The Jadam wetting agent, which I will make a video on it. I know I keep saying that. I'm just going to stop saying it because I haven't made the video yet. But the Jadam wetting agent alone is enough to combat the mosquito gnats. Also, you could add some of the sulfur. Also, you could add some various other of the herbal solutions. Okay, but primarily, if you've got the fungus gnats, you need to figure out the cause of that, because when the temperature is right and the lighting is right and the CO2 exchange, the airflow is right, all of that stuff is right, the fungus gnats will not. It's not hospitable to them. Okay, so because they eat fungus. So let's see. Tammy says, mosquito bits are just BT. Okay, the Bacterotherogenesis. I forget the exact name, but yeah. Okay, that's good to know. So they're just BT, like you get from anywhere else. Let's see. Off grid. Pheno Hut says, are madrone leaves good to put in raised beds? You know, I'm not entirely sure if they are or not. I don't recall. I mean, when I lived in California, we had madrone everywhere. I loved it. I loved making things out of it. But I don't recall if there's the poisonous aspect to the leaves. I'm sure that they would be. I can't say for sure. Has anyone used madrone leaves in their raised beds and stuff? I don't see a reason off the top of my head. I don't remember like a red flag, like the black walnut. But I can't say 100%. So. Let's see. What concentration of Labs JMS do you use on microgreens? For what? So if you, because you really don't need, the microgreens don't actually need anything. They, because we're only growing them for a very short time, and they pretty much have everything that they need contained within them. A little bit, if you use 1 ounce a gallon of the Labs, that will help to unlock more of the nutrients. But they do not really need nutrients, so you can just grow the microgreens without nutrients. And typically that's the best way, because if you're growing them until they're like trying to actually grow, you know, to get their second set of leaves or the first set of real leaves and stuff, then that's too long. So I don't use JMS on the microgreens because there is not enough time for those relationships to become relevant in the life of the microgreen. So the microgreens pretty much just cocoa coir and water and some Labs, a little bit, 1 ounce a gallon of Labs to keep the molds down. That definitely 1 ounce. It can even be 2 ounces a gallon of labs. So long as it's not the labs that you've super saturated with the sugar. We don't use that labs. I don't like to do that. So I just make a fresh batch more often because you don't worry about storing the labs for a crazy long amount of time. So let's see. And what can you use orange peelings and leaf mold to make fertilizer for trees? So let's see. If you have an orange tree, you can take oranges and any part of the orange tree, including the roots, the trunk, the leaves, all of that, and put it in a barrel with the leaf mold, yes, and let it all digest. And that will be the ideal fertilizer for the citrus tree, for the orange tree. So yes, you can do it that way. Definitely. David says, shredded madrone leaves, long breakdown. Okay, that's probably the main thing. Like oak leaves, they take a long time to break down. So David says they take a long time to break down, which, yeah, that makes sense. That like the oak leaves, they take forever to break down, as opposed to like the fruit tree leaves or the maple leaves. Those break down by springtime. They'll be broken down if we do it right. So hello, Trish. Holiday greetings to you as well, my friend. Let's see. Jerry says, are the sprouted dried beans a little soggy when put into chili, etc.? No, they should not be soggy. So so if we're going to do the beans, so our kidney beans or northern beans or cannelli beans, like I'm making a dish right now for the party, a smoked turkey leg with cannelli beans and the homegrown potatoes and the carrots and onions and garlic, all that stuff's still in the basement. Carrots, onions, garlic, still good. But are they? Yeah, so you sprout them, but you only sprout them until you just see the tail starting to poke out. That's it. Until you don't wait until there's an actual sprout on them. So it's only like 2 days. The beans are only 2 days where we rinse every 12 hours, like the other beans. And we can do it in the mason jar, and we put about a cup in each mason jar, and then we just rinse them every 12 hours for about 2 days, and that's all it takes for the beans. So that there's just the tail, and then you use them just as normal. You use them, and they should have the same texture as if you just soak them overnight. They should have that same texture. They should not be mushy. If they were, something happened. Probably, if they're mushy, the beans were not alive. They had gone past their time of being able to sprout themselves. And that's a good way to tell when it's time to replace your beans. I mean, you can eat them that way, of course. A lot of people do. But if you want that full life force and that conversion of the enzymes and the vitamins and minerals like I talked about in the sprouting video, if you want that, you need living seeds. Living meaning that when they are activated by the moisture, they will then start the conversion process and grow. So if your seeds aren't doing that and they're just getting mushy, then they're probably too old. So the best way is to grow your own beans and then shell them and store them over the winter. That's the best way to do it. Trish says, I literally pulled up my turnips last night. They were pretty frozen, hoping they'll still be edible for tomorrow's feast. Probably. I don't know if turnips can get frozen. I mean, totally frozen. I know some things can't. Turnips are pretty cold hardy, though. That's one thing the Vikings actually did really grow because they were so cold hardy. John says, oak leaves and grass clippings, great mulch all summer. Yes, absolutely. Especially if you're adding the grass clippings, because that's going to give the much lacking nitrogen to the leaf decomposition. Because remember, the fuel for the bacteria to decompose things is nitrogen. And so they consume, so the more nitrogen that is present, the faster and more robust the decomposition process will be. The fungi digest the carbon. And so they do just as good of a job, it just takes much longer and it's a lot slower. So the leaves are pretty much all carbon. And so if we combine a high nitrogen with them, then we're going to have a lot faster decomposition. So let's see, soil, okay. Nothing super fun and crazy today, just a thing of Yogi tea, the brand Yogi, Breathe. Yeah, just because it was quick, and that is what I had. So here's what it says. Love is to live for somebody. Love is not to live with somebody. So whoever needed to hear that, there it is. Soilless fine mesh plastic trays for microgreens. Yay or nay? Now, I have not used the soilless fine mesh plastic trays for the microgreens because I'm just all about soil, but it's not. I mean, the coco coir is not actual soil; it's soilless growing medium. So I do see people using the trays, but when they use the trays, I do feel like they use a nutrient solution. A lot of those commercial growers and stuff, they will use a full-on synthetic nutrient solution, such as the like a master blend, or such as the general hydroponics, the grow type in the green bottle. They will use a bit of that, and that is fine if that's what you want to do. But it is not in any way organic at that point. It is straight up, petrochemical based at that point, which is, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. But you can grow them with no additional fertilizers. Now, I've tried to use things like a bit of the fish fertilizer and stuff, and it works. It helps them to get a little bit more robust, and a little bit of the JLF, but inevitably it turns it a bit rancid. It just makes it like the molds grow and all that stuff, because it's not the same as outdoors, where there's the power of the elements, the sun, the wind, the UV, all of that kind of stuff, and the soil food web. So it kind of makes them go a little bit rancid, and they're only in there 8 to 10 days anyways. So it's like they don't get quite as big and dark green. So the commercial capability of the microgreens, if you're doing it commercially, you're going to want to use something, because the commercial aspect, the chefs and the restaurants, they will want that big dark colors. They won't care so much that it's pure organic and all that kind of stuff. So let's see, a pile of leaves plus chickens equals look like kids in a ball pen. Yeah, really, moving it all around, doing all kinds of stuff. Whoa, Bobcat, $50. Thank you, my friend. Wonderful. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thanks for sharing your time and knowledge with us all. You are very welcome, my friend. I appreciate the gift. That is most wonderful. Merry Christmas to you as well, Bobcat. And Trish says, true, because you may not love them still after living with them. Oh, right, yeah. Well, living with them, so that's okay. Love is to live for somebody. Love is not to live with somebody. That's what this tea bag says. And living with somebody in my mind is like, okay, well, I'm going to tolerate them. Like a lot of our grandparents, I mean, maybe your grandparents are the exception, but a lot of our grandparents just kind of lived together, because that's what you did back in that's what you did back in the day. You just stuck it out your whole life, no matter what. And, they're living with each other. It's not like, you know what I mean? I won't go into that. So, I have grapefruit plants 2.5 feet tall. Any chance I can keep them in a greenhouse as they grow and have any fruits? I'm in Vermont, so cold in winter. Grapefruit plants 2.5 feet tall. I doubt that it's going to work without sufficient heat into the greenhouse, because they are very much so tropical, and so it'd be tough. I mean, you could, but it'd be a labor of love. You'd want to do it just so that you could grow grapefruits in Vermont. Because otherwise you'll have to heat the growing space, and it won't get as big. It won't be able to get into the ground. So I don't know if anybody else has experience growing grapefruits in Vermont. Let our friend know, Shannon LeGros. So thanks. Good thing I bought the mason jar screen as well as the trays. Yes. Because, and that was actually one of the questions of somebody, I think it was Tushi G, and she asked, what is the difference, or what is the pro and con between the microgreens and the sprout? And here I will tell you. The sprout is convenient. It's very fast. It requires virtually no setup at all. Just the mason jar and the screen and a place to put them. So no equipment. The cost is extremely low, and you get fresh life force all the time. You get the fresh vitamins, minerals, and the digestive enzymes, which help us to break down the food. Like I mentioned and talked about in the last video I made about sprouting, is, once the sprouts get activated, then we get all kinds of new compounds into the body. And this is very important that we get the enzymes. And this is what's lacking in our diet, in our modern diet, because so many processed foods and anything that can sit on a shelf for an extended period of time is not natural. That's not normal. Food, anyone who eats a natural way, like I do, you know that food goes spoiled very fast, unless it's particularly like dried beans or something like that. But like something that's been prepared goes bad very quickly. So the number one, or one of the tragedies, is that all of the enzymes of shelf-stable food and packaged food of any kind mostly are dead. And so we need the enzymes, the lipase that helps us break down the fats, and the protease, which helps us to assimilate the proteins, and the, I forget the other one, amylase, which does the carbohydrates and the sugars, yes? And those are going to, when we eat those in the sprout, that's going to help us to break down and assimilate the meal that we just ate. So there's many, many benefits to the sprouts. Now, the microgreens, on the other hand, are going to be a whole different type of nutrients. They still have the enzymes in them, of course, some and things, but they're different. And it has mostly the chlorophyll. That's what's, the chlorophyll is what captures, it's a magical substance. It's magic. That the chlorophyll does what even our greatest technology cannot even come close to doing. And capturing the energy from the sun and building soil and building plant material, vitamins and minerals, all that amazing stuff out of it. Okay, so the chlorophyll is very powerful. And that is what, when we do the wheatgrass here in another couple weeks, I'll show you guys how to sprout and juice the wheatgrass. That is just all about the chlorophyll. And you will feel it, man. When you take a shot of wheatgrass that you grew yourself and like that, you will feel you are zinging from it. The life force and the chlorophyll and the captured sun is incredible. So we get all of that in the microgreens. We also get the vitamins and minerals is actually in the microgreen. There's up to 40 times the concentration of nutrients in the microgreen as there is in the full-grown plant. So, and that's pound for pound, of course. But think of that. I mean, that's very, very, very nutrient dense. But the con of the microgreens is that it takes much more setup than the sprouts. So you have to have a light, you have to have heat source of some kind, you have to have trays and soil, and you have to water it, and you have to, it's much more involved. You can try and just put it in the windowsill and stuff and do them in the window, but those rarely work out very good. The only one that's easy to do that with is wheatgrass. Wheatgrass you can grow anywhere in the house. It just takes a real small amount of light in any window. But for the microgreens, for the most part, if you're growing them in the window, they'll get super long and leggy, and they're real long stem, and they'll try to reach towards the light and stuff, and it's just not, they need that light right above them so that they can just immediately do their thing. So that's, in a nutshell, is the pros and cons. Two totally different things. Definitely start with the sprouting because they're always there and they're always fresh. And that's how you can store nutrients. Because if you have one of these things, for example, this will store for 5-10 years, no problem, if it's stored right, even longer. And then you just, it's vacuum sealed now, but then you can just take it out and put them into mason jars and use them at will. And you take the stored nutrients that are in the sprout and then you sprout it, and boom, now you've reawakened the life force in the food. And so it's a great way to store nourishment, much more than like those My Patriot Supply food and stuff. And I'm sorry if you guys are all about those, but the My Patriot Supply, all that dehydrated or freeze-dried food and stuff, that's okay, but that cannot, there's zero life force and way too much salt and chemicals. So the real ticket is to store your beans. I've made a couple of videos on these, food storage. Store the beans and rice and lentils, and then sprouts. And that's going to give you fresh living food, even in a survival type situation, so long as you have access to water. So let me get to some of these questions. Let's see. Matt Barker says, Merry Christmas, Viking brother. Merry Christmas to you too, my friend. Tushi says, question, are any microgreens cut and come again? Not really, no. No, because the seed contains within it mostly the nutrients that it needs to grow up until its first little set of leaves. And so anything beyond that, it's going to need fertilized. And no, there's not. Wheatgrass is the only one. Wheatgrass, we'll cut, we'll juice it, and we'll get a second flush of wheatgrass. Yes. But we do not, the other microgreens, no. And you want them to be fresh because if it's beyond the 10 days, the microgreens have a real high capacity of becoming moldy. And that's the number one mortal enemy of indoor microgreens and indoor growing in general is mold. And so you have to be very diligent in looking for that. So let's see. Shooting the Soil says, just got my sprouting jar caps from your last video. Oh, nice. So you will be on your sprouting adventure soon. Number one that I recommend is the alfalfa sprouts because alfalfa is one of the most nutritional things that there is. And so you can look up the history of it, but alfalfa is means the father of all foods. And so the Arabians used to eat it themselves with tremendous results. And so I'm paraphrasing something I've read. So let's see here. The alfalfa and then the mung beans. I will show you guys the mung bean sprout, and that is going to be a very old school way where we're going to utilize clay jar or like a clay pot. Basically, it's very cool. So mung beans will be different though, because mung beans, the type you get at like the Asian store, they will have those nice, thick, long, crisp, crunchy, sort of like a sweet pea with a sweet corn mix, that kind of thing. That's what we want, those delicious mung bean sprouts. And so if you do them in a jar, they'll just be super thin, and they're just not very good because they don't have the resistance to overcome. And so you guys will see. It's delicious. And chef, baker, gardener, barista. That was a well-rounded man. Better late than never. Good morning, all. Thanks for being here, Nate. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for being here. And so, let's see. Seems like the greenhouse fruit tend to be smaller and less plentiful than their outside counterparts. I need more info from friend about varieties, temperature, nutrients, etc. Yes, if you're talking about the grapefruit, yeah, anything that is in a greenhouse, I mean, it's natural environment, and so it's not going to be, I'm sure there's dwarf varieties and stuff like that, definitely, that you can do. If you want to do it as like a mission, okay, I'm going to grow a grapefruit in Vermont, then go for it, Definitely there's ways to do it. But there's nothing that's going to compare to one in its natural environment in the earth that is going to just be thriving. I mean, there's no way, no comparison. Let's see. Crystal says, is there anything special you would do for bare root strawberries? I have 50 plants coming this spring in Michigan. Thanks. Guys, do you have any suggestions for Crystal of what you have done with your bare root strawberries as far as helping them to thrive? I will tell you a couple things in a moment, but if you guys have any direct experience, not something that you've read, but what do you like to do when you get bare root strawberries? Because the very first thing that I would do is to soak them in a solution of the Jadam microbial solution. That is going to immediately help to inoculate them with all the appropriate diversity and balance of microorganisms. So that is going to give them the best possible start right out of the gate. So I would take let's say we have 1 gallon of water. I would add a half cup of the Jadam microbial solution. That's 1 to 30. Yeah, I would add a half cup of the Jadam microbial solution, and then actually maybe like a quarter cup of the Jadam microbial solution to the gallon, and then about 1 ounce of the fish fertilizer, and then or about ½ ounce of the fish fertilizer, and then a ½ ounce of the labs. That's what I would do right off the top of my head. That's what I would do, and that's going to give it a really good boost, and it's going to inoculate those roots and all of that with the indigenous microorganisms. Then before you plant, water at least once or twice, but preferably 5 times with full strength Jadam microbial solution. Water the area where you're going to put the strawberries, and that's going to get all of the microbiology right. It's all about the microbiology because they do all the work. All right. And so in this style of farming where we're not using chemicals and we're not adjusting pH and we're not doing the NPK, we're not worrying about any of that stuff. Our goal is to make sure that the microbiology is thriving, and then everything else takes care of itself, because that's what nature does. And so that's what I would do, is to really prepare the land beforehand and add a number of the liquid fertilizers, a number of the microbial solutions, and that's going to just give you, then they're going to get in there and have all the, they're going to spread like they want to, and they're going to just thrive. They really are. And Jerry says, they grow great on top of a septic field with lots of straw for weed control in it. Okay, so that is what Jerry says. I'm sure you're talking about strawberries. Let's see. And maybe 6A for loofah. Oh, you guys are talking about loofah. Yeah, I've never grown loofahs. Let's see. My AMA says, my bare root strawberries didn't grow here in Michigan. I don't know what I did wrong. Maybe variety, maybe the wrong planting, maybe not the right microbiology. You know, all of those things come into effect. Let's see. Shannon said, I love my plants. Just want to keep them happy and healthy. I feel you, my friend. I feel you. And let's see. Dimitri says, we just bought some organic amaranth seeds to put some in to try to grow. Do you have any experience with this plant? They are sprouting for us now. I do not have experience with amaranth in particular, but of course, they will thrive like any other if the microbiology is right. So you're utilizing the microbial solution, you're utilizing the fish fertilizer or various other JLFs of the liquid fertilizers. You are utilizing some of the labs, and you're utilizing heavy, thick mulches over it. All of that stuff, all the principles are going to come into play. So although I've not grown that particular one before, I'm quite sure that after one season, I would know exactly how to grow it if I wanted to do that, because the foundation, the fundamentals are all there. So it can understand, what the soil needs. Because once the soil's thriving, any plant you put in there, and I'm sure you know this, but any plant you put in there is going to thrive. That has been my number one experience. With soil that is lacking, then there's all kinds of stuff that you have to try and do. But once it's up to par, it's all good. I need to add purple amaranth to my grain collection. It is said that it's very good for you. Yeah, it's actually one of the really old ones, isn't it? Old school, like ancient. Pam, hello, my friend. Hello, Nate. Thumbs up. Just come in from the garden, weeding and trimming around the beds. Nice. Are you in the southern hemisphere? Is South Africa in the southern hemisphere? I can't believe I don't know that. But okay. Let's see here. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, guys, remember to thumbs up the video, will you please? Because it definitely helps tremendously. Thumbs up and leave a comment. If you're watching it after the fact, just share your thoughts on something. It all helps the algorithm, and it helps people. There's a lot of people commenting and stuff like that now, so it's really good because we're all learning from each other, and we're all, people read the comments. People go in and they like to read comments, especially if it's like an educated type of comment section, not just like a mindless, people fighting in the comments and stuff like that. Those nonsensical videos, entertainment only type. But if it's an actual video about like with substance, then people love to read the comments because they learn a lot from that. So, share your thoughts or your experience or whatever it is on all the videos. Let's see. My man bringing those Eve smiles upon us. Yes. All right. Thank you, Steve Chadwick. Same here, my friend. Nate, so happy to finally catch a live. Okay. Hello. Welcome, Joshua McConnell. And Alton Moody says, I'm making a fish fertilizer with the leaf mold, but added a gallon of molasses. Half a 55-gallon drum, half full of fish, and how much should I use when ready? Okay, so you are making, if you're adding the molasses, you're going to want, you would want to add probably like 2 liters of the, or a half gallon of the labs, because that will make the proper fish hydrolysate. So if with just adding, it's tricky adding molasses and sugars and stuff like that, and it's really unnecessary for the most part. But if you already added it and stuff, then and you want that particular thing, then I would make a batch of the labs and add like a half gallon to even a gallon of the labs. And that's going to help to enzymatically dramatically speed the decomposition, and it's going to control it more. It's going to keep it from putrefying, and it's going to make it more ferment. And that's what you want when you're using that much sugar. So then when it's all said and done, you want to start with just 1 ounce a gallon, and you want to check it out. So, start with 1 ounce a gallon, because there's a lot of variation in this stuff. Some of it can be a lot more potent than others. So you have to go by smell, go by taste, give it a good sip. No, I'm just kidding. Don't sip it. But go by smell, and if it smells putrefying, like, oh my God, like a dead body, then that's because of the sugar. That's because of the sugars, and it's putrefied, which is not what we want. So we want it to enzymatically be fermented, and so we want to add the lactic acid to ensure that it's going to be controlled in that way. Okay? And then start with 1 ounce a gallon. You could go up to a cup a gallon if you wanted to, or if you had 100 gallons, if you had a 100-gallon tank, you could start with a half gallon of it, and then work your way up to a gallon, even as far as 2 gallons, even 3 gallons to a 100-gallon tank. If your soil was really depleted and you needed the life, you could do that without a problem. Always start small and work your way up, though, because you just have to see and observe. That's what it's all about. Add the stuff and then observe, and then say, oh, okay, now I see. And the more that you do that, you'll be able to tell the subtleties. So over the past decade of me doing this, now I can see plants and I can read their response in their health. I mean, dramatic, the subtlest little response, I can read that. And I can go, okay, that's because of this, this, or this. But at first I was just like looking at the plant, I'm like, well, it's not dead, so it's fine, but no, it gets way more subtle than that. You can see the mood of the plant, the health, the spirit of the plant in a way. So G4G says, Merry Christmas Eve, Mr. Nate. Merry Christmas as well to everyone. Yes, my friend, I'm glad you are here, stopping by. Let's see, Steve Chadwick, you make kombucha? Of course I do. Growing any scobies? Yes. Also, how do you feel about using kombucha as a watering tea for plants? Now, I've never really... I don't know if that would be of any benefit, actually. I don't think that it would. My initial reaction is no, I don't think that it would. For us, though, definitely is beneficial. I got a big crock of it that's always fermenting, that, and I start drinking it like shortly after I make it, but then all the way up until it's like vinegar and it gets real strong. It's real strong. And then I'll just add more of the sugar water with the tea. But yeah, I got a nice thick scobies, a number of them. And let's see. Knowledge is power, unpopular truth. That's correct. Well, knowledge is potential power, but when we apply it and it becomes experience, that I think is the power. Yes, but I understand what you're saying. Christopher Menel says, good evening from lovely, sunny Cape Town, South Africa. What happened to the potatoes when you gave it wood ash liquid fertilizer? That is a good question. And after this year, I've come to the conclusion that using wood ash on your potatoes is not detrimental, even in the slightest bit. And in fact, it's beneficial. The potatoes that received the wood ash, not only did they not have scab and all that stuff like all the internet parrot, all the mockingbird, articles on the internet. Well, okay, you don't want to use wood ash on your potatoes, okay? Just don't ever use wood ash on the potatoes. And I kept thinking, why? And I would go to all these different, and even videos, YouTube videos are saying, the only thing you don't add wood ash on is the potatoes. Okay, why? And they, well, because you don't. That doesn't do it. So I put it to the test. And a number of the bags, I watered with ridiculous amounts of wood ash to make sure, and so, and they ended up being even a bit harder. And that's what you want for storage potatoes. You want them to be like as hard as wood, almost. The harder they are, the longer they're going to store. And so they came out, they had no scab on them whatsoever, and they were rock hard. And they are going to last probably all winter for sure. So there is no problem using wood ash, and in fact, I'm gonna continue using wood ash on the potatoes. So now you guys can all tell your friends, when anyone tries to say, well, you never want to use wood ash on the potatoes. You say, oh, well, why is that? And they'll say, oh, well, it lowers pH and it does. Well, how do you know that? Well, I read it somewhere. That's what it will always be. Well, I heard that somewhere. Okay, but now you can put that to the rest. It does not harm the potatoes, and in fact, it makes them wonderful. So that's what that is. Thank you for asking that. Steve, I've seen an awesome video about a 55-gallon drum of water in your greenhouse with the smallest water heater in it. You can keep your greenhouse like 20 degrees warmer from the water. Depending on the size of the greenhouse, that could work. Yeah, definitely. That could work. You could also use like a stock tank heater, if you wanted to. I've got a stock tank heater that I put into my ice bath for and then I have it on a timer so that it comes on just for about 3 hours in the middle of the night at the coldest part to keep the ice tub, 150-gallon ice tub, from freezing solid. Because last year it froze solid all the way through and it burst the tub, and I was real sad about that. But I grew sweet potatoes in it, so it worked out fine. But now I got another tub, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I got the stock tank heater and kick it on with the timer in the middle of the night, and that's really good. Okay. Let's see. Roverino says wood ash should raise pH, not lower it. It would take a absurd amount of wood ash to influence the pH in a way that would be meaningful to the plant. Because remember, listen, contrary to popular understanding, the plant itself regulates the pH it needs in the rhizosphere, which is the area directly around the root. So taking a soil test and seeing what the pH of the soil is, it doesn't really mean anything. And so trying to raise or lower the pH, all of that is the kind of thinking that has been pushed upon us by the companies selling the lime and selling the dolomite and selling the gypsum and selling all the pH testing equipment and all of that kind of stuff, when the plant already takes care of that for the most part. Okay? So they do that by taking the power of the sun and combining the elements and creating the exact type of sugars that it knows, once it pumps it into the earth, is going to nourish the specific types of microorganisms that plant needs, knowing with the innate superintelligence that those microorganisms are going to create the pH that it needs. It's perfection. There's no other better definition of perfection than that. And so it's of little consequence, raising and lowering pH and all of that kind of stuff. And in fact, it's best we don't even worry about it at all. I never test the soil. I never recommend anyone test the soil or anything like that, because that is all the thinking of chemistry. And we are on the natural path of biology. We have to let the chemistry go, because that's the industrial ag, and that's that whole system of thought of dividing the plant's growth cycle into growth and then bloom and then fruiting and then all of this, and then separating nitrogen and the N, P, and K, what are the numbers, and then giving it this in the beginning and this in the middle and this in the end. All of that has been shoved on us by the man, more or less. I'm speaking more or less. And so we have to take that back, because nature never does that. Nature never dissects anything into the growth or the bloom cycle. It never adds nitrogen in during only one part of the cycle and then not during another part. It never adjusts the pH of the soil. It's just balanced all the time. And so that's what we need to mimic in our gardening and our growing philosophy, is we need to balanced all the time as nature does it, as closely as we can, because obviously there's no such thing as closed loop, 100% closed loop agriculture, because we are taking out something, so we're putting back things in. So there's my rant about that. Oh, nice. Chef, baker, gardener, barista, $20. Thank you, my friend. Happy Yule and Merry Christmas. I'm glad you guys are on the Yule train, man. You understand. So I'll catch the rest after work. Enjoy your family and friends, Nate, and take a well-deserved break. Thank you, my friend. Same to you. And I hope that you have a Merry Christmas, my friend. Thanks for the gift. So let's see. Pine needles lower the pH in the soil. D. Bax. Okay. I will dispel that myth, because that's not exactly how it works. The pine needles, the reason that that is very, very common, and most people think that, is because, okay, you go around the pine trees and you test the pH of the soil, and it's got the pH that has been lowered. Okay, it's got a lower of the pH, and so we think, okay, the pine needles, because they're right there on top of the soil, that's what's lowering the pH. But that's not what's lowering the pH. What is lowering the pH is exactly the process that I described a moment ago when I said that the roots of the tree or of the plant are what attract the right type of microorganisms to adjust the pH that that plant needs. And so it is because of the pine tree roots that the pH of that soil is lower. That's what, and blueberries as well. And so they do the similar thing, is that they will lower the pH of the soil. And so when you test around and stuff, it's like, oh, the pine needles lower it, but it's not the pine needles themselves that are doing that. So, and I know that there's a lot of people who are like, oh no, my great grandmother told me that pine needles lower the pH in soil. Well, that's just not really how it works. But we know now that it's the roots of the tree that do it. Roverino says, I have 8 blueberry shrubs that are 2 years old and are not doing well with Jadam microbial solution this past year. I tested pH and it's 7.5, too high. Well, what else have you added? And blueberries could be one of the very few exceptions. Well, there's so many factors involved. And so, because what kind of nutrient solution are you feeding them? What kind of drainage do they have? What kind of pruning are you doing to them? What kind of light exposure do they have? What kind of nutrient solution have you been using? So yes, blueberries love the acid soil, yes. And the blueberries will create the acid soil as well, if everything else is proper. And yeah, so will the plant regulate pH the same way when grown in container? For the most part, it will. Guys, I have to take 5 seconds and make sure this thing isn't burning. Okay, yeah, sorry about that, but man, didn't want to burn because I got a big old smoked turkey leg with some beans and potatoes, homegrown, and carrots and onions and garlic. All that stuff, it's stewing with rosemary and thyme and sage leaves, all of it from the garden, except for the turkey leg, of course. So, yeah, I did not want that to burn because I'm bringing it for the family tonight. There's gonna be like 40, 50 people there at the party, and so I want to make sure. And we have a contest about who can bring the best tasting thing. We get like a prize for the best dish, and I pretty much need to win that, of course. I mean, so let's see. Okay, Graham, Nate, my questions: OHN and aspirin. I can't get willow anywhere. Oh man, you can't. Okay, because I was gonna say, you said that about the aspirin, and I was like, well, I don't know the biological process behind the aspirin and the rooting compound, because Graham says that he has heard, and I've heard this too, that aspirin, you can make a rooting compound out of aspirin. Now, I don't have enough experience with that because I've never had a need to do that. So one, what are you trying to root? And that will, a lot of it is determined by what the hormonal stage is of the plant as you're trying to root it. So you can't just cut part of the plant at any time in its life cycle and expect it to root. It has to be in the early spring, right when it comes out of dormancy or something, right when it's in its full luscious growth. You don't want to take it at any other portion of the plant's life cycle because there will not be the appropriate hormones present naturally in the plant. But one thing that you definitely can do is the willow, yes. And I will make a video on that in the springtime. I will show you guys how to make a very good rooting hormone compound from the weeping willow. But Graham says he doesn't have access to that. They must have cut them all down in Ireland. But so I don't know. I would say, you just don't need to go down that route. you don't need to go down that route of utilizing the chemicals. So we can't grow or procure aspirin from anywhere but the man. So I mean, yeah, you could use it and let us know how it works. If that's what you do, use it and let us know how it works. Do a controlled side by side. But the number one thing is taking it at the right time. And then the JDOM microbial solution. Okay, but for the OHN, now you asked OHN, I think, for indoor houseplants. Is that right? Now you could, but there's not going to be a super need for it, in my experience. And if you make it out of the like the garlic, it's going to be really odoriferous inside the house. So the OHN is the Oriental Herbal Solution, or Oriental Herbal Nutrient, and it's for the vigor, the overall vigor. It's got enzymes and good things in it for the plants, which I'll make a video on in the springtime. We can make it out of garlic and cinnamon and things, a couple of other things. But for me personally, I don't typically make it because that doesn't, I have made it though plenty of times in the past, but I don't use it on the indoor plants. That's what I'm trying to say, is that because again, we don't have the power of the soil food web there. And so I don't think that it's going to have the same benefit. And so I would just stick with the recipe. I mean, if you saw my plants and stuff, and they are just unbelievably thriving. And so anywhere that, if you guys just want to use that solution, the recipe that I gave to you, you can, I mean, this for a pothos is that's pretty big. For an indoor pothos, it's actually huge. And these, I just cloned them from the Big Mama pothos that you guys saw. And so yeah, this is a big pothos. And that all comes from the indoor houseplant video that I made. And so, doobie-doo, I run amok. Is that a, let's see, hold music. Okay, yeah. Coffee for the blueberries. Oh, maybe. Yeah. Low pH and plenty of sun. My blueberries are planted too close to the privacy fence. They do poorly because of light restriction. Light restrictions, yes, that would definitely make a difference. Let's see. Mom Computer says, dip the specimen in honey, then roll in cinnamon. Good for rooting. Also, I use comfrey and water to put pieces in. I don't have access to willow either. Wow, okay, so dip the specimen in honey, then roll in cinnamon. Good for rooting. I've never heard of that before. But let me know if you guys try that. Let me know how it works. But still, the number one thing is you want to time it right. If you time it right, most plants will be able to clone themselves. They'll be able to propagate themselves because all the hormones it needs are there, especially things like berry bushes and all of that kind of stuff. Anything that does, like if a part of it falls to the ground and it will put down roots and start growing a new plant from there, those ones are easy to clone, okay? Like huckleberries and raspberries and black currants, things like that. So Steve says, honey is age-old remedy for healing scars on plants and helping wounds on people. Got that healthy, good funk in it. Definitely. It's antimicrobial, that's for sure. So it probably helps to keep the pathogens, to shield from the pathogens. That's probably what it would help to do. So I'm going to eat your rooting agent. Cinnamon and honey? LOL. Yeah, sounds good. Catherine, hello, my friend. Long time no see. Hey, Nate, can't stay, but wanted to pop in and wish you all a Merry Christmas. Talk soon. Okay, thank you, my friend. I hope you have a Merry Christmas as well. And Daniel says, have you used Bahia grass to make arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi inoculant before? I am looking at starting some in the spring and would appreciate any tips. I have not practiced that before. No. Because it's the mycorrhizal thing is actually kind of the only thing that can grow mycorrhizal is a living root. That's the only thing that can do it. And so we don't actually, when we make like the JDOM microbial solution, there's billions of spores and stuff in it, but they're all over the place anyways. They're in all the soil anyways. The only thing that can awaken them and that can feed that is the living root, because only the living root can capture the sunlight and combine the elements and pump the carbon in the form of sugars into the earth and nourish the mycorrhizal. So if we don't have the living root in the ground, we are not growing mycorrhizal. So there is, and I know this from being in California, because they sell all kinds of mycorrhizal in the bottle and stuff like that, but it just doesn't really work that way. Most of that doesn't actually. It's just snake oil. It doesn't actually do anything. So if you want to tremendously boost your mycorrhizal population, make the Jadam microbial solution and keep a living root in the ground, and that will do it. But make sure the microbial solution's got the good leaf mold in it. Watch my video on the leaf mold. You got to go out and hunt for it, okay? And yeah. Let's see. Mom Computer says, a very Merry Christmas and a healthy, Happy New Year to all. Be warm and stay safe. Yes, my friend, healthy. Healthy, Happy New Year to everyone. That is what it's all about. Let's see. Matt Barker says, I feel like the leaf mold will come into play here. Oh, it absolutely would. Just me, who are you? $20. Thank you, my friend. You were given a gift last week too, so I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you and your family. And let's see. D. Wright says, hello, Nate. Love your channel and your demeanor. You will do well. Thank you, my friend. I am creating a raised bed garden for next year. Do you treat the beds the same as in-ground growing? In terms of what? That's a lovely comment, by the way. Thank you very much. And you pretty much a raised bed, if you do it right, it pretty much is the ground. The raised beds only need to be a few inches off the ground to keep the drainage and all of that. Now, if you're talking about you've got the 3 foot tall or the 4 foot tall one, because you can't bend over or something like that, now that will be a little bit different. But for most of the raised beds, even if you're doing 2x12s, the actual roots are going to go into the ground, to the earth. And so it's kind of in the earth anyway. So yeah, you'd pretty much treat it mostly the same. Now, unless you have like beds that are on something and the material is going to drain really fast, or it's like a sandy kind of thing that doesn't hold a lot of nutrients, in that case, you will need to add more of the nutrients and more organic matter. But for the most part, without seeing your specific beds, yeah, you would. So let's see here, let's see, Joshua McConnell. Wait, I saw somebody. Crystal, thank you, my friend. $20. Man, you guys are pouring in the Christmas spirit today. Happy holidays, Nate. I'm going to be revisiting your videos in preparation for the coming growing season. Oh, absolutely. That's cool. You're going to have a plot to grow on this year? Awesome. Yeah, there will be a lot more videos coming as well, because remember, the video's not even a full season old, or the channel's not even a full season. So we've got all kinds of videos that are coming this year. So make sure you spread it, the knowledge, and I know you guys are, but make sure you spread with people as well, because we want to grow this. We just love growing stuff here. So we got to grow this channel like anything else. Let's see here. Joshua McConnell says, Nate, could you drop some of that Humboldt knowledge on us? The 707. Planning my first outdoor grow in recently legal Zone 6A, mid-Missouri. Any input would be greatly appreciated. Oh boy, that's a big topic. And yeah, I got tons I could say on that. But but really, it's going to be like any other plant. I mean, there's very specific things that you would do, but in preparation, you do it like any other plant. And you're going to want to prepare the ground with the manures and the leaf mold, and water it 5 times before you put the plants in the ground. Water it 5 times with full strength Jadam microbial solution. And in the microbial solution, okay, for this plant in particular, in the microbial solution, add a handful of green plant matter. If you have access to some leaves or even some of the bee flowers, then put those in there with the microbial solution. And that's going to help to culture the exact type of microorganisms that particular plant you're talking about needs. And so that's and then we will water 5 times the area with that exact solution. And that is going to customize the ground to help that plant to thrive. And so that's just one of many things that you can do. So yeah, there's some of that, but definitely you prepare the ground in the same way. And so and then at the end of this season, so your first outdoor season, at the end of that season, everything that is left, all the stalks, the root balls, all of the B or C flowers and stuff, all that stuff gets composted either back into the ground or it gets made into a barrel of the liquid fertilizer. So you'll have a barrel, some of it will get into the barrel of the liquid fertilizer for next year. And then the rest of it will be composted back into the trenches or the beds or wherever it is that you're growing. That's how you do it. Okay. Let's see. And let's see here. That guy, Chris, pro tip, keep the deer off it. It's like crack to them. Yeah, they definitely like it. And many a night I would sit there with the thermal imaging scope. Yep, had to get them. But that's just how they do it in Humboldt. So on the leaf mold, is the material in the center of a decomposed tree same stuff as around the base of the trees? Now, sort of. But what's best is to get a handful of that and a handful of from around the tree. Get a couple handfuls of each, and you never take a handful in the same place. Unless you find like some primo, really good stuff, then take a few handfuls. But the diversity is what we want. So take it from right here, and then a couple feet away, and then inside the tree, and then under the tree, and then over at the next tree, and then over at the next tree, like that. D. Wright says, we recently trimmed a large locust tree, so now have a pile of chips. Are they usable? Can they be composted? And so, let's see. Are they usable? Can they be composted? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, they can be composted. Large locust tree, those will take a while to break down, but yeah, you can either, just compost them. If you want to do it fast, compost them and add a lot of the nitrogen sources, okay? Add the urea fertilizer or just the urine, just save your urine and pour it onto the wood chips. The fish fertilizer, the microbial solution, all that stuff is going to really help the decomposition process. Let's see. Matt says, thanks for the tip on leaf mold collection. I will gather from multiple trees on next run to local creek woodland. Definitely, that's the way to do it. Charlie says, char it. Oh yeah, you could take the, I think you're talking about the locust chips. Yes, you could char them. Or you might be talking about the land preparation for the plants for the guys outdoor grow. Biochar, that would be a good way to help get the soil ready for the plants you're talking about. I think McConnell. Then make some biochar and inoculate it with the microbial solution that I described to you, and some of the fish fertilizer and some of the liquid fertilizers. Definitely. That would really help a lot. And so put that into the soil and let it all marinate with the manures and stuff like that. And then keep the soil covered with a thick layer of leaves until you're ready to plant in the spring, or early summer. Then yes. But in Missouri, your biggest proponent is going to be mold. Those plants are so easy to mold because they don't grow like that in nature. They never grow where it's just females. They always have the males there. And so the plants grow completely different in nature with lots of space in between the flower material. And so lots of airflow is getting in there. So they never mold in nature. But when we do it in the way we do it, Sensimilia, without seed, we do it without the males. And so it's just the females. And so that gets some big, thick, fat, dense flowers. And those will mold so easily, it's ridiculous. So just be on the lookout for that. Okay. And then D. Wright, I heard you say walnut leaves could be used after composting. Did I misunderstand? No. I think you did misunderstand. Yeah, they can be used after burning, is what I said. They can be used after burning. Some people say after composting. I don't agree. And it's so vicious of a stuff. Why even mess with it? And I say vicious because like I've been saying, I'm very good at being able to analyze and to see what the issue is with plants. But it stumped me for a whole season. I was like, I cannot figure out what is wrong with these plants. And it was the juglone effect. And so it's super powerful. It's super potent and concentrated. So I would just not use the black walnut leaves, but you can burn them. So watch the video I did where I show the ancient method, of you just put the leaves in the shape of the bed, burn them. The ash is perfectly fine. So let's see here. Nate, why don't you have any fruit trees in your garden? Because I've not been here all that long at this place, and I don't plan on staying here that much longer. Something else has got to happen for me. So in the next few years, I plan to be finding or getting, or I will be moving to some land in some way. I'm not sure yet how, but land. Because then we will be doing like I was doing in California and having the garden, of course, but also the animals. The animals are vitally important. I mean, chickens, goats. We got to have a cow, for the milk. And we got to have a hog that we feed everything to. And so all of that will be coming back. And at that place, when I finally make the homestead, then I will first thing I'll do is plant all kinds of fruit trees. Fruit trees, nut trees, shrubs, bushes, all that stuff. That's the very first thing you do when you get into a land. So I will be doing that. And then you guys will see all different kinds of stuff. It'll be cool because you'll be able to see when I started in this place and then going on to the new place where there will be way more involved. Because eventually I want it to be like a school where people can come to and see these ways. Yes? So that's the end goal, is to have a school of sorts that is can show people, okay, here is how we decentralize the food supply. Here is how we learn to grow our own sustenance. Here's how we take back the power of the most precious resource that we have, which is food, in a way. So that's the goal. So that's why I'm not putting fruit trees here, because I'm not getting too comfortable. Another couple seasons, okay? Because then it's onwards to the next thing. Charlie says, I want to be there. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. When I get the homestead, and it will all be, it's with the whole purpose of I even want to make it like a 501, like a nonprofit kind of thing where people can donate, and that'll be the whole purpose, is you can come and see all these things in action. And let's see, Sharon, hello, my friend, says, hello, a Merry Christmas to you and all. I want to prep containers because there is so little sun around. What, if anything, is different about preparing containers than preparing on the land? Well, what size of containers are they? Or if you're talking about small little pots, it's dramatically different. If you're talking about big, beds, then it would be very similar. So let me know what size of pots you're talking about. D. Wright, $20. Thank you, my friend. Man, you guys are showering it today. Thank you very much for your generosity. And let's see here. Let's see. Diogo Silva says, that will be great. I do hope that you will be able to buy a good piece of land sooner than later. Yes, me too. Me too. Land share community. I'd do it. Yeah, that's, so would I. Steve says, have a blessed holiday and Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you, my Viking friend, for the cool and collective delivery I have come to look forward to and appreciate. Garden on, guys. Always be growing. Always be growing. I like that. I might actually use that. Thank you, Steve. Mom Computer, something's going to happen for you, all right. You will be blessed. Yes, my friend, I absolutely feel the same way. And it's not even like, well, is it going to happen, or is it no, I already know. It just, I don't know how yet. But that in my experience, is a detail. So successful. Hello, Rachel. I hear you on the land. I want that too. Going to be necessary. Oh, definitely. Definitely. And there's a resurgence in all of this kind of stuff. And there's a new interest. People are really hungry for this knowledge. And so I want to be able to show it to them, because it's the passion that flows through me is in this regard. And I've been around the world, so I've seen so much, and I've seen so many different ways of doing things, and different ancient things, and different semi-ancient things, just so much. And it's wonderful to be able to then share that or make it useful. You know what I mean? Because there's so much here. It's now is the time to make it useful. So that's the vision. Now let us see here. The hello. Okay, Sharon already answered that. The Josh McConnell, I make compost using the chicken tractor on steroids method. Oh, nice. And I'm doing a deep dive learning about JDOM. I knew mold could be an issue. I am thinking quick flowering indicas will be the way to go. Possibly. Now, are you doing light dep though? Because that's what we did in California. That's what my specialty was, the light deprivation. We also did the full term, of course, plenty of that. But the light dep is when you get in and get out, because it's only 8 to 10 weeks. And so you're pulling the tarps, blacking out the whole thing, and you can get 2 harvests in one season. But also you can get one harvest in midsummer when it's bone dry and nice and hot. So that's also a good way to do it. D Wright, $20, my friend. Thank you. I think I saw that already, didn't I? Yes. Okay. But thank you anyways. Let's see. Jason Knight, use big containers. Let's see. Sharon says, love your goal and ambition. Yes. Thank you, my friend. Dimitri, your homestead dream sounds so cool. Wish you well to accomplish it. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the energy. Steve says, ABGs of gardening, brother, always be growing. ABGs of gardening, always be growing. I might have just found another motto. That's a great mindset. I know it will happen. Yes, thank you. Me too. Sunset Farm, Ohio. Let's see. Patricia says, consider alternate ways to donate for those who don't do PayPal. Yeah, I know. I need to. And people have been telling me, Graham's been telling me about Monero and other ways, and I need to get on that kind of stuff. But I just haven't done it yet. But yeah, I know. I need to. I want to diversify more in all of that stuff, but it's a lot of learning curve to someone who came straight out of the mountains just a few years ago. So, okay, Sharon, like 5 or 10-ish gallon containers. Okay, in those tiny little containers, then you will want to compost. You will want to prepare the soil and all of that outside of the pot. And then make sure it's all mixed together, make sure it's amended well with all the stuff, and then re-add it to the pot. You will not want to do it in the 5 or 10 gallon container. If you had 100-gallon pots, then yeah, that's about the minimum. But or 300-gallon. In California, I used to grow one plant in a 300-gallon fabric pot. And then they were like 15 feet tall. It's crazy. But in a 5 or 10 gallon pot, you will want to take all the soil out, compost it, amend it, mix it with the manure, do the pile like you've seen in the video that I did recently about layering the chicken manure and the leaves, or make a compost if you got good compost. Number of different ways, but you'll want to do that out of the pots and then put it back into the pots. And then once it's in the pots, well, even when it's out of the pots, be watering with the microbial solution, be giving it the labs and stuff like that. It all is going to inoculate it with the good microorganisms. Scott Murray, $10. Thanks, Dad. That's my dad. All right, thank you. $10. Thanks for the gift. Hope you're coming to Christmas Eve. I know it's cold out, but you gotta maintain appearances. Shooting the soil. I'm using 15 gallons. Living soil going good so far, almost 1 year. Okay, yeah, then that's cool. You can, if you got a special plan that you want to do, living soil and stuff like that in the 15 gallons, go ahead. Now, are you talking inside or outdoors? But either way, I've had better success with doing the compost method, So let's see, somebody, I feel like, what is this? Okay, so hello, Nate. Ronald says, hello, Nate. When making labs, is it all right to use raw milk that the stores sell? Yes, absolutely. That's actually the best method, is to utilize raw milk. And you typically won't even have to add the rice wash water. If you just let raw milk sit, it will separate. And it won't separate quite as firm, though, as if you use the rice wash. So in my experience, at least, I've made a few batches recently with the raw milk, and it hasn't separated in the same way. But if you use the rice wash, either way, yes, raw milk's going to be ideal. And definitely don't forget to eat that cheese. Now I'm going to take a dash of, because my throat's getting a little bit sore, so I'm going to take a dash of this clove oil. Clove oil is absolutely amazing for the immune system and for the, it like numbs everything up. So. Whoa. Yeah, this is powerful stuff, man. I like the doTERRA type. You know, you can get whatever kind, but you want to make sure the two best are doTERRA or Young Living. And they, because you want them to be real pure. If you're going to consume them, you want them to be pure. Because when it concentrates everything, then the impurities also become concentrated. So enjoy your family party, Nate. Happy Christmas to you and everyone here in the Viking family YouTube. Yes, thank you, my friend. And so we're going to bring it to a close before long because it's already 80 minutes. Patricia, like a P.O. box to send money to. That would be cool. Yeah, I should. I should do the P.O. box. The thing with the P.O. box is that it doesn't allow FedEx or UPS. It only allows postal service. But maybe I should. It's kind of getting to the point I should do that because I've had a number of people ask about that. Let's see here. Nate, can we use pasteurized milk to produce labs? I do not have access to fresh milk. Yes, you can use pasteurized milk, but you will definitely have to use the rice wash water. So watch the video that I made, but yes, the stuff I made in the video and what I usually used to make before I found this source to the raw milk is the pasteurized stuff. Yeah. So question. I placed the chicken droppings and straw from the coop into a trash can, added about 2 cups of clay, then filled with water. Should I add leaf mold to the mix? Absolutely. Absolutely add leaf mold to that mix. Okay, guys, so we're coming to an end because we need to, you won't be playing? Because we got to get to the Christmas party. And I still haven't wrapped a couple of my gifts. So I put that stuff off to the very, very end. But that's what I got to do right now. So that's why I'm going to be a little bit late to help and get things situated, Mom. So if you're watching this, I'll be a little bit late. But all right, guys, thank you very much for stopping by and spending this time with me. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The New Year's Eve, I think, am I right? Is New Year's Eve is, let me check, next Saturday. So cool. I'll be right here, 12 noon next Saturday. And be well, my friend.